Okay, so this is video number 2, broadcasting out of Portland, Oregon. Well, there's a couple things I wanted to bring up. One was on the presidential debate. I think Biden really showed us exactly what everybody suspected, but there's been nothing short of a mass cover-up of a current sitting president with dementia, some form of cognitive impairment from Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, something. And you don't have to be a physician to recognize this. Should he step down? Was he a duly elected person and has a right to complete his term? I'm not really on the side that says that he doesn't have a right to complete his term. I do think he's unfit for service. But what we've also found is that, or what's been obvious, is that there's really only so much control the president has. He's more of a puppet, and his strings are being pulled by the unelected bureaucrats behind him that most of them we don't see. He's more just the front man. Now, but what that does do is he has an important position to portray to the rest of the world that the U.S. isn't being led by a bunch of fucktards. Well, even though we probably are. Now, my biggest issue has to do with currently this legislation to prevent illegal immigrants from voting in U.S. elections. We've suspected this for a long time, that, why has Biden and his and Mayorkas just opened up the borders to let anybody in? I mean, it's a free-for-all. And all the negative things that come along with that are, it's even too much to mention in a video like this. But just the fact that the Democrats have stated publicly that, and Biden particularly said he would veto this bill if it passed through the Senate. It's already passed through the House of Representatives. Will it get through the Senate? It doesn't seem likely, but the fact that Biden says that he will veto it, that speaks volumes. That is nothing short of an admission that they are looking for a voting bloc of illegal immigrants because all the election fraud isn't enough for these fucks. But to try and sell that somehow we, as much as they go after Russia this and Russia that and all of the bullshit accusations, which are just retarded. The rationales are just pure stupidity. But to try and make an argument that it would be unfair to prevent other countries from voting in a U.S. election, I don't even know what to say about that. That's Twilight Zone shit. That's the kind of stuff that you wouldn't have even thought they would even try and do, but yet they are. And then the other aspect that the Republicans are trying to counter about this trans nonsense, allowing, you can say whatever you want about trans people. I think it's gone way too far. I think we've teaching children about this at a young age when they have no business learning this is an option. It's not even based in reality because Science tells us humans are either an XY or an XXY. XX for a male, XY chromosomes for a female. Now, are there interesting genetic abnormalities like male feminization, XXY, where they get an additional X? Yeah, very infrequent, but they're still a male. But that extra X chromosome does give them more feminine characteristics. But to allow these people, biologic males, to go into women's bathrooms, to participate in women's sports, they will destroy everything that's women only. There's a reason why there's women's sports. Men and women are different. They're not the same. To allow men to be able to go into to locker rooms, to go into women's sports, it is unconscionable. This is just, so that has to be prevented. I also think that in the end, this whole trans movement, it's always been there. It's just that in the last few years, it's gone viral. And many children that hadn't even hit puberty yet were being offered this as a solution or as an option in their lives to choose their gender. The most stupid thing I've ever heard. In states like California, saying that if you don't concede to what your child's preferred pronouns are or gender is, then that's child abuse, and Child Protective Services can go against you. That's the most fucking asinine shit I've ever heard. It's I don't even know what to say. It's that stupid. So anyway, I'm going to be watching this. But the one thing that's really given me some hope is Bitcoin. That is what people should be thinking about, because all of the mass printing of money, all the stupidity in legislation, all of the nonsense around us, the one thing that our government uses to control us is the money. They print the money. There was a tweet by the new president of Argentina, Javier Milei, who is, the media calls him a libertarian, but he's really an anarcho-capitalist. And he's a very huge advocate of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin cannot be debased like the US dollar, which is a melting ice cube. Bitcoin gives you hope. So in all these times of crap, just dollar cost averaging every month with a little bit of Bitcoin, that will preserve your spending capacity down the road, but much better than gold will, much easier than gold will. That gives me a lot of hope. Once I got into Bitcoin in 2020, and I was a late bloomer in Bitcoin, it's changed my life. It's made me look at our fiscal and monetary policy as they are. And a completely decentralized money that cannot be inflated or debased, that has a limited supply, that is the way to preserve our spending capacity. And it's only getting bigger and bigger. The networking effects of Bitcoin have been astounding. And I'm even shocked to see the numbers that 20% of Americans own Bitcoin. So, 10, 20 years from now, we're just going to see that vertical part of the S-curve for Bitcoin adoption, the networking effects that have been playing out over the last decade and a half will continue. So I would encourage anybody to study Bitcoin, spend hours learning about this protocol, because it is transformative. Everybody talks about AI, artificial intelligence and its importance, and it's going to be a big aspect in good and bad in our lives. And so will Bitcoin. Anyway, when I think of Bitcoin, it just makes me want to smile, because it's a way that I cannot be controlled by so many forces around us that we lack the control for, that your average American doesn't have the power to really. We can't do anything about the Federal Reserve, and neither can the president. Whichever president gets elected, they're going to do the same thing as the guy before. Record printing, record deficits, and the problem will keep getting worse and worse and worse. And we're seeing this with, we're seeing this also more recently with the BRICS alliance of countries. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and let's see, South Africa, and a lot of other countries that have joined, because they're tired of the U.S. weaponizing the dollar and putting sanctions on countries like we did to Russia. We confiscated. This has nothing to do with Russia. What it has to do with, we confiscated $300 billion of their U.S. treasuries because we could. So why would other countries want to hold dollars? So this trend of de-dollarization, this will continue. The dollar's not going anywhere right now, but little by little, it's being weakened. And a lot of those dollars are going to be coming home, which is going to increase our inflation even more than it already is, because more countries are going to be like, fuck this. Why do we want to hold this on our, as a reserve asset in our, on our balance sheet, when the U.S. government can just sanction us and take it from us at any time? So this trend will continue. When the dollar really goes down, this will be quick. This will be, you're talking about a couple of days, and this could be like 20 years down the road, who knows? Anyway, so Bitcoin is the positivity. That is what is going to bring a smile to your face. It's going to make you want to save, where our current situation, based on our debt-based system, there's no incentive to save, because your currency is being devalued constantly. And so you better spend it. But you spend it on Bitcoin, then you'll be happy. And nobody's lost money on Bitcoin over a 4-year period. That's a fact. So just put money into Bitcoin that you're not going to want to, you don't want to touch, you're not going to spend it, you're not going to convert it back to the shitty fiat dollars that it took to buy it. Keep the Bitcoin. And have something, that nest egg, you can pass on to your children, your family down the road. And your family will be better for it. Anyway, that's all I got to say. I'm just enjoying a nice day here in Portland, Oregon. And maybe in a few days I'll post another video. I don't know if there's anybody that even likes these or even cares, but YouTube is really a nice way to find like-minded people. I have found that more of my, whether it's news or information, is coming from YouTube than any other forms of media. It's interesting if you look at the stats that it's like 80% men. We need all these women to come over to YouTube too, because they're going to get, there's just so much. The amount of content is insane. And there's some really good people, and you can find everything. You can find lots that you disagree with, lots that you agree with, and you can learn shit that you had no idea about. That's the beauty. You know, I'm in my early 50s. I never even thought, I could never even have conceived of the amount of information we'd have access to just a few decades later. Anyway, take care, enjoy this summer, and talk to you next time. Bye-bye.